Hold
Oh,
on.
there you go. Cheers.
I can't. Ah, there we go. I've done it. Right. Boom. Wait. There you go. Who wants to start?
Okay. So yeah, we're doing the LoveWinch app as you know, we started this semester last semester, and it's just the three of us, me, Adam, and James. But now we've got Jake and Buster coming in to do the CAD for it, so it's wonderful. Yeah, so semester one, it looked like this. I started off ugly, got a bit better, and yeah, so I've been basically spending the semester just keep changing it and getting feedback and changing it and making sure it looks nice. So this is a nice little drop down menu to get rid of all the buttons on the screen, so it's nice and clear, and that map is always the main focus for the user. It's got achievements, which you'll have a little voucher wallet for, as shown by there, and then it's just in the settings and stuff like that. I don't think you need to play the whole video if you don't want to. So next slide.
This is the next slide.
This is the current. No, go back again.
Oh, right. That was that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it is a different one.
My bad.
Yeah, play that. This is the full prototype as of week 9. So I am currently. This is made in XD, but as I'll mention later, I'm trying to take it into Envision, so I'm having a bit of problems with that. I'll speak about that later. So yeah, this is the little run through. We have a little landmark thing. You'll be able to click on a set trail, or make your own. It'll give you the thing, and then you can go into Street View like that if you want, or you can use the normal mapping system. This is the menu design again. Skip forward a bit, Buster. You've seen this. 10 seconds or so. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then I think that's at the end. Yeah, looks like it. So that's the app as of now. Next slide. Yeah, so I need to get some feedback on how we want to display the location. So obviously, first person view will be an option, but if you look at the other two, I'll get some feedback to see whether people prefer letters, so A for attractions and C for commercial, or icons of said locations and stuff, and then you probably use logos for the commercial stuff. Next slide. Yeah, so as I said, I'll be taking it into Envision. I've linked it all up nicely, but what I really want to do is use their mirroring system to get it onto my phone, so then I can hand it out to users and they can play around with it like it's a real app without fully having it made, which will be very nice. But as Rob knows, I'm struggling with that at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, so carrying on from Callum's bit, he was doing more of the UI, and I've been focused on UX. So I'll take the brand guidelines. So this bit's all the same. Sorry, next slide. But yeah, so the colours are the main thing that we've updated, because we need a pop-up colour where it was the like greys and like browny golds. We need some colours to make it a bit nicer and make the app not just the council colours. So you chose the purple, but we need to go to David, see if we're actually allowed, or if he likes that, see if we can do that. But that's what I've been designing in, because it looks a lot nicer. Yeah, next one. So yeah, logo design. So typography at the top, found a nice one we like, which is the one from the brand guidelines. And then this is the logo design at the bottom. The final one, but we've got a bit of development on the next slide. Yeah, so just going through the colours, choosing which, that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just going through the colours in the guidelines, see which one we like the most. So obviously we can do it in greys or golds. It just doesn't look as nice as the purple or even the like pinky red colour. But again, yeah, we need to go to David, see if we can actually keep that purple colour. Yeah, next one. This is the final 3. So the normal and purple, and then the negative of it, and just the text where it needs to be. And then on the next slide, I believe, yeah, so I've just got a little mock-up of what I could see the app looking like when I made it, to show Callum and Adam. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all of my slides, but I'm working on the, just working on icons and posters now, because I know Adam's using emojis at the moment just for the little menu bar. So I'm trying to make up some little icons for that, and also posters so we can bring it into, I mean, obviously it won't be a promotional campaign because it's not running anymore, but where it was going to be, we're going to make up some posters, flyers, stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Is that everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my stuff. All I've managed to get done is the William Walker pub and the King Alfred statue. And the reason is because both of these two things have been completely new to me, and it's actually been such a struggle making like something that resembles a person and like texturing a pub to actually have all like the circa 1860 and the actual like mapping of certain parts has been quite a struggle for me because I didn't know how to do it before. So this is what I had to go on from the King Alfred statue. Online there's a front and loads of pictures from the right side, but I went down there and got this picture on the left on a horrible day, so it wasn't a very good source picture, but so I could actually see like the inside of the shield and everything, which is very helpful, and the back tail of the coat, which came in handy. So to start with, very slowly and surely, I made my way up, because as some of the other students will know, while I was making this, it was an absolute pain to create any of this. I had to spend like an entire week just trying to do like the legs, for example. It was very messy. Like I redid the legs about 3 times because I couldn't make them look anything like real people legs. The feet, I didn't actually get around to changing because I couldn't figure out how to do them at all. The skirt just took ages because I needed to actually make it like, it was probably a kilt. But anyway, to make it all like ruffled up and everything and actually give it the illusion of him having his knee forward was really, really hard. The only easy part was the belt, which was basically just like how I'd usually do things for like making a watch or something. And then the torso, luckily all I had to do was just like round off a cube to make it look like that because it's going to be covered by the cape anyway. The cape was relatively easy as well. It was just editing polys and pulling it, which was fine. And then the arms and the shoulders and everything else was just an absolute pain because like the legs, I had to make them look somewhat like real things. And then you can see the change in the arm between the second picture and the right, the one in the middle kind of. Both of them, like the arms had to change because I realized that that's not how an arm bends, and it was all very difficult to figure out, very existential as I was doing all of this, you can imagine. And then, yeah, just reuse the sword from me and Adam's interactive project last year. And then I just had to stretch it a bit and thin it so it actually looked like a real sword, not really chunky like it was before. The shield, again, was relatively easy. But then I went through and like added a few extra bits for the final model here on the right. So, but overall, it took me bloody ages, but it was very rewarding because I think it's actually turned out looking quite all right, if I do say so myself. And then the next one, this one was relatively quick. This one only took about 3 weeks. This is what I had to go on, obviously, William Walker Pub. The only thing they've changed is the blackboard for the specials menu on the side. But yeah, so I just used the old one, which is the one on the left. Then I made it in Revit, which is the render that I can make in Revit on the left. And then using the snippets from the right, I took a picture and then used the cropping tool to just like snip it in, and then changed it a bit in Photoshop to actually like have just the desired bit, which I could then use submaterial and UV mapping to create like certain parts, as well as changing the poly of making like different faces where I could actually put the William Walker Pub right in and the circa 1860 and the little blackboard down by the side, as well as all of the as well as the actual door. Windows texturing for Windows still eludes me, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to actually make a proper window texture at some point. That's the next step. But yeah, that is everything that I've done.
Okay, so I was in charge of doing the Winchester City Mill. So again, same as Russell, these are just a few reference images of the actual mill. It was a hard one to do in terms of like trying to get the proportions right, because the roof is kind of offset, and there's no, as you can see from the first image on the left, the roof does gradually go up as well. So it's being an old building, it is quite a hard thing to do. But if you go to the next slide.
Yeah, I thought I was in charge.
So this is made in Fusion. So this is just the InDesign section. It's not an in Canvas render yet. So this is what I've got so far of the model. Again, this is what the model that you see here is going to be used in the actual app. So it'll be like the FBX or the OBJ like will actually be used within the app, so you can rotate around, which Adam can manipulate within the app how he wants to. But take it further in terms of like a design point, and for like my portfolio, I need to add texture to the roof, to the fascias, to the outside of the building, to the windows, and basically add materials and then render it properly. But I mean, I've got like the main details from underneath where the water flows through the mill, the second house on the left as well, and as you can see, the offset roof as well. But I mean, it is coming along. If you go to the next slide, you'll see an in-canvas render so far. Actually, if you go to the next one, it's a bit better. Gives you a better view. Yeah, so that's it so far. It's a bit cleaner. Obviously, you can't see the detail on the windows, as they haven't got materials in them just as yet. So it's either a case of adding a texture onto the faces, or basically doing it manually and spending time building up each brick and then adding a material to it that way. I mean, it's just, you know, copying and moving, but getting that in is going to be a bit of a pain. But I think once it's finished, it will look good. And then once I've done that, once I finish the texturing for the actual materials, I'll be adding an environment around it so that water can flow through the mill. And then after that, taking it into twin motion as well, so that you can animate the water. And I'm hoping as well, with the use of twin motion, to basically change how it will look through different time. So from spring through to summer, autumn, and winter and things like that, and show how, because I need to add the big tree as well in there as well, so you can actually see how it changes over the different seasons, which would be quite a nice touch. So it'll all be animated, and you can have people walking through, which would be quite nice. But yeah, I mean, so far that's the base of it, and then yeah, just taking it further in terms of materials and animation.
Yeah, in terms of how far the app's gone, it's at a solid state at the moment. Should be a video playing on the right, yeah, of just how far I've come, just showing the level we're at. So we've got the interactive map. It's also the locations that have been filtered, which can be added via the CMS for the client. They can also add trails as well to that, as well as locations. And then I've set up, using the Google Directions API, got a polyline trail from users' current location to the location they choose, and also a trail as well. At the moment, I've just got the trails working, but at the moment they can use, the client on the back end can push through a trail with an origin destination. But at the moment, only one waypoint, but I'm working on doing it, so they can do as many as they want. And also working on it so that users on the app can, instead of just choosing, there's a trail, instead of just choosing pre-made trails, they can create their own ones with as many waypoints and where they want to finish. So at the moment, there's also authentication. So you can see the drop-down menu that Cal designed, so people can log in or create an account. It's actually adds a change password thing, but they can still log in. And then once you've logged in, they have access to the achievements page, which at the moment is another call from the back end, which just gets a list of achievements, as you can see there. But I need to make it so if it knows whether the user's achieved one or not, and also make the app detect when something's being achieved. So it actually says unlocked, but I'm not sure I'm going to go about that yet. And then you can log out again. So then if the video done, then, you can see when you got any achievements when you're not logged in, it asks for them to sign in or log in. And then if you go to the next slide, you can see the Django side of things on the back end. When you can see on the second screenshot the trail. So there's a name of the trail, but trail 1, and then they choose a start location, and that's a foreign key to the locations table, so they can just choose or the already existing locations and a destination and a waypoint, and then just an image to display the trail on the front end. If you go to the next slide, and and still to be included, as Cal showed in his prototype video, I also need to add a I don't know what this is specifically called, but you know when you go on an app and it shows how to actually use the app in a couple of slides before you can access it. I need to add that because there might be a bit of confusion. And then, like I said earlier, user created trails, and I need to figure out how to track achievements, and also how to go about seeing who's achieved what. So at the moment, I've put within the objects in the API, I'm just going to have an array of users under a property called users, and then when people go on the achievements page, it would check the user's logged in username to the list of usernames in the array in the API object, and figure it out that way and display if it's green for one is unlocked and all red for if it's not. But also need to figure out, is our achievements something that the client would be able to add to the app themselves, or if it's something that I just need to set up now? Because although they can easily post a name of a new achievement, it also obviously will have different logic to how it needs to be achieved. So like visit the station is just one example, but if they add walk 100 minutes or something, like on a trail, like how would that go about being added to the app via a CMS? There's just something I haven't really figured out yet. And also need to add geofencing and add all of Jacob Buss's models, which would be good. But at the moment, I stupidly have my phone on update automatically, and the latest update doesn't allow you to run the app on my phone to test it at the moment. A lot of people know about that. And also need to add geofencing, and whether to not the Google Directions API also, it gives you so much information about how long it would take to get from one point to there, how long it would take to get from the end of the road to the other end. But I'm really not sure if we're going to display all that information when you click go, or just have the polyline so people can follow the line on the map to figure that out. But yeah, just wondering your thoughts on all of that. And yeah, that's me done. There's just more little, can you leave it on there? There's GIFs of using it.
For the whole Google Maps thing, I think polyline and whatever your next sort of instruction is, so like at the top have turn left at the end of the street, whatever, so people don't have to be constantly looking at the line, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you used City Mapper before, Mapper, that's a cool one. It like you can swipe through the different instructions, so you can see what the next one's going to be as you're on the current one. I like that, so maybe do something like that.
That'd be very cool. And then the achievements thing, adding that to CMS, the only way I could think of doing it is maybe having set achievement types that they can add in. So like one for like visiting a location, one for walking a certain amount of distance, one for being in this area, and then they can just add those set presets rather than making. That's the only way I can think of doing it.
That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that's me.
No, I think it looks really good. I would say that I wrote some notes quickly. I don't like the location symbols that are being used in the.
So the pictures. The pictures of the.
I think from the initial design, so we're using like quite vivid orange and greens. I think they weren't keeping with the house.
Oh, them ones, yeah. Okay.
If they're going to be changed to, it was Callum's design, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Which one's that?
The branding looks awesome. I think it looks really nice. I'm not sure how you got to that branding, or why we're using it, but I think it looks really nice. However you got there, I think it looks solid. I think there may be a little bit of loss of detail on the buildings on the top of Winchester. You may want to make those a bit more pronounced, but anyone's free to argue with me on that. And I think the 3D models that have been created, where are they going to actually come into the app?
Oh, I see. So on the middle GIF, I think they click the cathedral.
Yeah.
And then when the user is in the geofence of that location, the go to AR content button will highlight before. If they're not in the location of the geofence, it will be locked. And when they click it, it will say you have to visit there. But once they're at the location, they can do it. They'll be able to access it, and they click it, and they can see all the models for that particular location.
Okay, I think the model style is a bit counter what your brand style is. So the model style seems quite cartoony, and I think the actual app style holds this kind of material design, kind of clean, flat aesthetic, and the 3D models don't really reflect that. Feel free to argue with me again, but if anyone's going to play on that. Say the King Alfred statue, I don't think that fits into the style of the app, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Are you saying you don't think it's like sufficiently realistic enough or low poly enough? Like it's somewhere in the middle of the two?
It's in between and it just can't make its mind up. So either we go low poly and make it look ultra modern and ultra kind of low poly essentially, or we go really high detailed and go, we need to choose which side to go on, because at the moment we're in no man's land, sorry.
With that, I think the extra detailed version is probably going to be your best bet, because it's going to be AR, it's going to be in the world. I think probably going details to be your best bet.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
All of you to assume I can do that. It was hard enough.
What software? What software?
3ds Max.
3ds Max.
Yeah.
So the thing you could do if you were to try and go the other way and try and make it lower poly, how can I just like throw an image into the mix?
Into the chat window.
Into the chat window.
Yeah,
right, yeah, just into there. So so you could use a modifier. Right, copy that link. In theory, just paste it into here.
And make sure you're not. There you go.
Yeah. So in theory, why has that gone to there? Stupid bloody thing. Hold on.
You just sent me an email account, mate.
Yeah, it's like why? Okay, hold on.
You know, guys, when you say something's really, really difficult, I feel for you because we've all been there. But that's the point where you end up learning the absolute most, just as you're about to give up.
So if you look at the image from Turbo Squid there, so if you've got a semi-complete model anyway, you can then put a decimate and triangulate modifier onto that model, and it can then very quickly turn it into something that is, looks all right if you're going for that low poly style. But I do think it is right to say that ideally it needs to look more realistic than not if it's going to be AR. But I suppose there's kind of ways that we could look at doing that, and I don't mind doing some kind of one-to-ones with Buster over the internet to talk about how you might be able to achieve it better.
Because if we do go for the low poly, we could somewhat animate you could animate it because you're using AR kit, aren't you? So that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty sensible on the resources it pulls. So you could animate it, and we could make some animations for the actual statue, and you could wield his sword if we went for low poly. And I think
That would be cool.
It'd be a lot easier to do it like that rather than a whole realistic swing and stuff like that. But yeah. I'll leave that with you and Buster Ario.
But yeah, but in terms of if you're doing it high poly, I mean that is the difficulty of getting it so that it's actually going to work in the like the desired format. But it is doable. It doesn't need to be too high poly for it to be realistic. There's just a couple of things to kind of do to make it kind of work a bit better.
Cool. Has anyone else got any thoughts on the project?
Oh yeah, I had one.
Rob?
But I think having seen Adam's implementation, that actually it's no longer a thing. I was going to say that the wireframes that show the logo on the splash with the like the skyline is really, really nice. But I don't think you then need it anywhere else. Just having the typography logo only. But I think that's already been implemented by the look of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got it on there.
It's just in top bar. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about pulling data from Django using your API, I'd always say and recommend that you end up using the server side to do as much of the logic work as you need, and then you're just pulling through data to display on the front end. So that will use up less resources. Use the server stuff while you can.
Good to keep in mind, too.
All right.
Cool. Anyone else? Should we shoot on to the next group, which is Spitfire?